about number 4.
Yeah.
About my colleague.
Well, Rob, that's from our legal advice, isn't it? So if he gives the okay, then it gives the okay. Is that correct, Rob? You give the tick?
I'll do some investigation on it, but given what Spa Park is, the motorisation or not, sorry, the status of it or not is not going to be so much an issue.
Yeah.
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 So it's probably not going to be an impediment.
Well, I was going to have a 5-minute toilet break and a drink, but John's jumped in the seat and so has Bevan. So obviously he's got to get away, a busy businessman, so we'll go to item number 11, which is digital screens licensed to occupy.
So I'm going to make your life even more easy now after those two. So apologies first to Bevan because, sorry, I didn't realise it would go on so long. So apologies, sorry. I'll take that as read, but I just want to clarify a couple of things. The first part of this, the purpose of this item is for you to give or not give permission to site screens in various locations around the CBD under various requirements. The second part of it will be the resource consent process, which sort of follows on hand in hand with this one. So just to reaffirm that this is about granting a license to occupy to those sites. Also, it's probably remiss of me in the report not to perhaps mention the screens at the council lane, and just to give a bit of clarity on that. I didn't get a hint on that. The current contract is for we've currently got a contract which has got another 12 months to run with ADP, and that's for obviously mobile siting of those screens, which ADP manage on council behalf. So that expires in November 2013. There has been some discussion about what happens at the end of that term as to what where those screens are located, maybe on a permanent basis. But that's not going any further than some discussions, and it's been awaiting a proposal coming through from ADP.
Well, John, that's where my only concern was, is that being chairman of the Rugby World Cup and being in the process of those screens and the money that we haven't had a report back to say whether they've been paid off, what's going to happen, and what is our projected view on using them, because the whole idea of getting those wasn't only just for the Rugby World Cup, but they were to use for our events and stuff like that. So that was my only concern, is where we're at, or what was the life of them. Is there only 3 or 4 years left of life in them, because obviously technology has improved and got faster and better. So
and certainly in terms of, I'll let Ben talk a little bit if that's okay, but I mean, technology-wise, I'm not an expert on that. Ben's probably better at thinking about that. But so we are waiting that report. We'll wait for that proposal to come up maybe at some point. But like I say, there's another 12 months to run on that agreement with ADP. Either way, those screens that council owns would require us to go through a resource consent process, which is similar to what we're talking about here. So I'll answer any questions on the item up when it comes to it.
Well, this is not a question on the item in front of us, but it is a question regarding, could we please have a report on how our own screens are being used, please? Because we've not had any report at all in terms of from the Rugby World Cup on how they're being used, whether the events are still using them, how many times they are being used, any money generated by them. Yeah.
Be honest, John, I mean, we should have had that either with or before this item came, because then that gives us a clearer view of exactly what we're doing, or whether we're cross-purchasing our own screens that we bought.
Just for clarity, these are mobile, so the one council owns are not mobile in the same way as the one that sign on a proposal. So this is mobile sites. Probably the intent would be for the council screens to be a more permanent fix, and this is very much a mobile activity if that's better than to explain a bit more about it.
Yeah, we sort of, look, afternoon councillors, I haven't got against the fear or anything like that, but we put a bit of R&D into what we do, and this is sort of probably where we're heading, which is digital signage. Hopefully with the council screens, there's more signage for the events and events that we have going and are at the events, whereas the sign-on screen is proposed for a mobile purpose, so it's actually advertising the events coming up and being able to use it as a mobile unit, which is built and it's developed on sign-on on hydraulics, so it's set up within 15 minutes of pulling up on site, whereas the council screens is probably a half-day install to actually set the screens up. There's on one site, so we can have our screen up and then back down in sort of half an hour. We want to use the screens for actually enhancing our Great Lake Taupo, offering what we do tourism-wise, bungee, skydive, and all the local tourism business, mountain bike parks. Matt Reader was just up here telling you about half a dozen events you've got coming up, so it's actually advertising those events and all the different locations that you can actually do that in. So yeah, I don't think it's really a conflict of interest with what you've got on your screens and how you utilise your screens for more of a...
Yeah, just going to say, Gavin, for the cycle challenge, there was both, wasn't there? There was yours one in Hughes Street, and there was what's his name, Peter Clapperton's ones on the main locations. Yeah,
well, the council ones.
So you're working with events and not compilations, as you say. Sorry for that.
Councillor Minister.
Just John, sorry, thanks Devin, and that was great that weekend as well for those. But just this is a long process after this. You're sort of saying to approve this, we're going to go through a long process before the licence to occupy can be granted.
And there's no guarantees that we'll go through the resource consent process. But this is the first step, I guess.
Just to initiate that process.
It's no point in going ahead with the resource consent process until you've got to sign off and a feeling as to whether or not the site's going to be approved.
And my question then, John, would be, are we charging Bevan for the process?
Yeah. It's commercial activity, and Bevan is
involved with the resource consent.
Yeah. Bevan is following as any other business would do if it paid for consent to graduate.
Councillor Henderson.
Thanks for the presentation. Just a few points to clarify. As I understand it, sign on business would control the advertising and do advertising. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
So potentially anybody could, but the proposal is...
No, we're more tourism operators. We don't want Hack and Save or McDonald's or...
So just to clarify...
Well, McDonald's,
Just to clarify, in theory, if a licence was granted and it was to get through the resource consent process, you would have sole rights to decide who goes advertise on those boards. Would that be correct?
yeah, as long as there wasn't a conflict between two parties. It's same as a radio advertising. You can't stop somebody from advertising on there. It's just where you locate that particular ad.
Just to follow on that line of questioning, it sounds from what you're proposing here, the private advertisers you want favour, that it might end up being Taupo District Council. Many of its entities are probably going to be clients in many cases. Would that be fair?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like you have a lot of events going on. We are the events capital of New Zealand. So, as a local, you don't actually know what's going on half the time, or half the events that are actually going on within the town. So what we're proposing is actually getting these events onto a big screen, and actually people do know what's going on, weeks out from the event, not actually up to a day of the event.
Yeah, just the first, come back to the first point I was trying to clarify though. In theory, you would then commercially control those boards, and anybody could potentially, with your permission, advertise on them, correct?
Yeah, we've actually been through this. The last thing we want to see is, you go home, you sit down and watch the TV, and you get stuck full of ads on anything on meats or the butchers or the rest of it. But yeah, that's the last thing I want to see. That's not what it's about. So
I know, and it's great to hear that, but I guess that I'm working in the reality of, for example, your business could be sold, anything could happen. and we could actually potentially lose control of what goes on those advertising displays.